Cyber Innovations in the Private Sector highlights case studies and the latest industry trends from private vendors. Explore innovative solutions, success stories, and exclusive insights from industry leaders. Stay ahead with the cutting-edge developments driving the industry forward.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of Cyber Cert TV. Today we are examining a major development in European digital policy, the Cyber Resilience Act. Legislation that could redefine how cybersecurity is enforced across the EU. And with it, an important initiative, the CRA-AI project, is aiming to ensure no company, large or small, gets left behind. Today we are with Patricia Shields. And Patricia, can you please talk about yourself a little bit and who you are and how you get into this?
Yes, I'm the CEO of Cyber Cert Labs and I'm the coordinator for the CRA-AI project. My background is in technology originally, so I would have worked for some very large multinational companies around hardware companies and also internet service providers way back in the 90s. And I always worked in technology. I worked for Big Four, I worked for Accenture. Then I set up my own company, and it was a software company, and we built Cyber GRC software. That company got acquired, and I went to work for the acquiring company. And I worked in the UK for a few years for a Czech company, where we did penetration and red teaming services for UK government under the Czech scheme. And then I had a few years where I was trying to decide my next steps, and I saw that the EU were really working on improving cybersecurity in Europe, and they were releasing lots of new regulations, NIS2, DORA, the Cyber Resilience Act, and I just knew that I wanted to do something in that area, so Cyber Cert Labs was born. Cyber Cert Labs were creating software for small to medium-sized product manufacturers to be able to comply with the Cyber Resilience Act. The software will be AI-enabled and have a lot of automation in it. And we are working with a consortium across Europe, across 6 European member states, because we got Digital Europe programme funding to build the software and to work with our collaborative partners who are all experts in their field across vulnerability management, training, dissemination. We have a pilot customer as well. So we have a lot of experts in the project. So we hope that all of that expertise will transfer to the product.
Patricia, to start, the CRA introduces a CE mark on the cybersecurity compliance. What does actually mean for digital products in real terms?
Yeah, so the CRA CE mark transforms cybersecurity from a nice to have to a legal and commercial necessity. So really what the European Union is trying to do is raise the bar in terms of cybersecurity for digital products. So for products that are imported, distributed and made and are placed or made available on the European market, they now have to have cybersecurity controls and cybersecurity features in them, and they have to have no known vulnerabilities when they're released onto the market.
So Patricia, your project CRA-AI aims to guide SMEs through compliance. Given the complexity of EU regulation, how will AI actually simplify that process?
Okay, so the project is 6 months old. So initially building software, you really need to understand what is the customer journey. So what are the things the customer needs to do for their goal in the software. So we've spent a lot of time mapping that customer journey and decomposing the CRA regulation in relation to a product development life cycle. So every product manufacturer will have a product development process, a life cycle. They kind of all follow the same type of life cycle. So it'll be planning, design, development, testing, and maintenance. And what we've done is we've decomposed the regulation next to that and said, what are the new things that a company would have to do to comply with this regulation in the planning stage, in the design stage, in the development stage, for instance.
And Patricia, is there a risk that automation could miss nuance in cybersecurity obligation, especially in sectors like fintech or medtech, where the stakes are high?
So the CRA focuses on the intended use of the product and the risk profile. And this informs the cybersecurity levels that the product needs to have. So essentially, using a product like ours, there are areas where automation, unless being validated by a human, you might think that, but really it's the CRA guidelines that will inform what is the level of cybersecurity you need to put in your product, because your product could have a very high risk profile or it could have a low risk profile.
The EU's impact assessment says that CE mark could be a barrier for SMEs. What exactly are the biggest friction points? Technical, bureaucratic, or financial?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And there are a number of areas where there could be friction points. And I think, we're talking about small businesses, so financial is always going to be a concern. And it will cost money for companies to become compliant. And there's different outlays. So there's the outlay in terms of if you needed to get a third-party assessment, that's going to cost a fair amount of money. Documentation and reporting vulnerabilities, that will cost effort and be expensive for small to medium-sized businesses. And embedding things like security by design and security by default into your processes, also, that's another cost concern. So, I think it's really important that small to medium-sized businesses get the help they need. There is some funding available for small to medium-sized businesses, but also the EU have funded projects like CRA-AI to create software solutions and tools to help SMEs comply. It won't take away all of the cost, but it will make it more streamlined process, and it will also reduce and make it an easier process for the SMEs to get through.
How will your platform interpret and stay aligned with evolving requirements on CRA Annex 1 and 2? Can it adapt to new specifications on the fly?
I think we're referring to the harmonized standards here. So the harmonized standards, there will be 41 standards. They're going to be horizontal and vertical. And they're not ready yet, so they will. Some of them will become available in 2026, but some won't be available until 2027.
Some critics may say that compliance automation tools introduces new risk, from false assurances to over-reliance. What's your point of view on this?
Yeah, I mean, the way that work is done today is with low levels of automation. So in the midst of a cyber skills shortage, we need to automate. We need to use solutions. We can't create people and we can't train the people quick enough to fill those gaps. So we have to automate. We're automating things that typically a consultant would do that would be quite manual and time consuming. So we're better off freeing up those experts to work on the higher skilled kind of work.
Will this platform actually make CRI compliance affordable for micro enterprises, or what will it cost to implement?
So the CRA has lots of aspects to it, and our software will help you and guide you through that process and help you embed security by design, help you do the risk assessment. It will help you access testing such as vulnerability scans, pen testing, and have those results within the software to be able to evidence that you have done testing properly. It will help you create your documentation. It will help you do a self-assessment and prepare for a conformity assessment. But there are those other things that will cost money as well. So a pen test will cost money, a vulnerability scan will cost money, and a third-party conformity assessment will cost money. So our software, we envisage, and we are only 6 months into the project. One of the outcomes we want to see is how much cost reduction does the software using AI give the customer.
The CRA-AI project is backed by partners across the EU. What does this cross-border coalition say about the EU cybersecurity strategy going forward?
I think, there's a general school of thought that the more collaboration we have with other countries and with our cybersecurity companies and startups, the better will be for everybody. And the more collaboration actually will help us capture more of the market. I think, there is sometimes there's a trust issue. Can I work with that company? Or they're doing something similar to us? But as small, there's no big cybersecurity giant in Europe, really, or very few of them. So that collaboration is really important for us to be able to capture more of the European market and, and compete against outside companies, big companies who have big marketing budgets.
Let's talk about timeline. When will this platform be operational, and what is your success metric? Is it CE mark issued, incident avoid, or cost savings achieved?
Yeah, so we will have MVP, minimal viable product, in August, and we will be opening up our early adopters program. We do have a pilot customer on the consortium, so we're testing everything with that customer, and we're opening up the early adopters program so that we can do some testing with actual SMEs with different products, different sizes, different complexities, different countries, so that we can really test it against actual customers. Then we will have version 1 in early 2026, probably Q1 2026, and really start getting people using it. Our success metrics, we really want people to be able to get that CE mark, because for the companies, it's really important for them to be competitive. It's a differentiator for them. It makes their procurement process with larger entities, NIS2 entities and DORA's entities much easier, because those entities are going to be requiring this in the future when they want to procure products.
Does this set a precedent? Could we see an AI-driven compliance model extended to other acts like AI acts or other EU frameworks?
Yeah, it's possible, but we're very focused on product cybersecurity. And I think what you find is, and particularly with the bigger players, is when you start to put, HIPAA and GDPR and ISO 27000 and ISO 9000 and this, that, and the other in your product loses its value, it loses its goal, it gets too confused for the user. It's trying to solve too many problems. So we're trying to solve one problem, and the problem is product security, complying with the Cyber Resilience Act, and it's for SMEs. So that's what we're trying to resolve. The AI Act, I think if you are compliant with the cybersecurity requirements, the technical requirements in the CRA, you will naturally comply with the cybersecurity requirements in the AI Act. But for instance, ESG, we know nothing about ESG. We're a cyber company, so let the ESG people who are the experts in that field, there are products out there. And also just to say, the people who would be using an ESG product and who are experts in the ESG users won't be the same users as we are trying to attract. So we're trying to attract CEOs of small businesses, product development managers and directors. They're the users of this product. They'll be totally different to the users of an ESG product. So we really need to keep very focused on producing the product for that that user base.
Patricia, it was a pleasure having you here today, and I hope to see you soon in the next episode.
Thank you very much, Nicholas.
This was Patricia Shields from Cyber Cert Labs talking about the project CRA-AI.